Hello everybody, Mark Major here. Yes, that Mark Major at the Action Figuratorium. I'm a real big toy collector here in Southeast Portland. Also, old school sales and marketing guy, and I like to take my knowledge of the sales and marketing universe and I like to blend it with the action figure toy collecting universe into doing these kinds of Let's Discuss videos. And today we're going to be doing a Let's Discuss on whether or not toy companies should have their own podcasts as a type of marketing vehicle. Now, toy companies should already have some type of a video presence, a YouTube channel, drop videos, that kind of thing. It definitely is the kind of thing that replaces a press release. Not that you shouldn't do some type of an email blast, not that you shouldn't have some type of a posting, a blog post on a website, but you should definitely be using video these days to announce new product, to talk about product, to stir the soup, as it were, out there, keep things going, keep things fresh, dropping content on people, keep people talking about it, keep people sharing it. Video is definitely the medium in which everybody is using, and these toy companies should definitely have their own channel for that, but should they have their own podcast show? And by podcast show, I mean a show that occurs like maybe once a week or every other week or once a month, in which a host or hosts get together and they discuss certain topics, and it could be just audio, or if they're smart, they would do video so that way they could actually show off the product that they're making. And we're going to be talking about this today. I've got some slides for you guys. We're going to talk about some of the pros of having a podcast show if you're a toy company. We're also going to talk about what some of the cons may be. And I actually did a little bit of looking around, not much, let's be honest, almost none, okay? Let's be honest. But did some looking around to see if there's any toy companies that actually had podcasts, and you'd be surprised what I found. The answer is not very much, and what I did find, not very good, but I did find some stuff. So we're going to look at all that today. Everybody, come together, pretend we're going to a Slayer concert, strap on the leather, hold on tight. All right, shall we cut over to my slide? I think we should. Let's load this up here. Give me a second. All right, here we go. Just like a real show, people. Don't you feel like you're watching actual entertainment? Don't get too comfortable. All right, so toy company podcast pros. Here are the 3 reasons. Everything always comes better in threes, by the way. If you've got to give a presentation to somebody, make sure you've got 3 bullet points to present your ideas with. Here we go. First one, why you should do a podcast if you're a toy company. Well, first of all, it's cheap. All you need is a couple microphones and some people, really. And if you want to add video, it's not that very difficult to add video either. And out of all the things that it takes to produce, podcasts are definitely pretty low budget. Now, second thing, content. You always need content. You always need to be coming out with something to show people that you're alive, something that you're active, right? Because just like a website that doesn't ever change doesn't really get people excited. So, in the past, people have always used some type of social media to make it look like they're alive. Podcasts is where you actually have people on camera who are living, talking about current events. We know you're alive. Content is king, and this is a great way to make content. Okay, third thing. Now, this may seem kind of obvious to some of you. Got to put it on the list, though. If you don't put it on the list, people think you're crazy. It's a great way to market your product. You have a podcast. Every podcast, you talk about the thing you're coming out with, some sort of action figure. You can show pictures of it and talk about it, and you can get in deep on it, much more deeper than you can in your regular sort of, product release, press release type videos. So these are the 3 main pros to doing a podcast. However, there are 3 cons as well, and they're kind of the inverse of these 3 things. Let's take a look, shall we? Here are the 3 cons. First of all, I mentioned it's cheap, but I did not say it was free. Not free. You do have to actually put some sort of time, energy, and money into it. You have to pay somebody to do the podcast. Or if they're already on the salary, it's going to take their time away from other tasks, meaning it's a drain on resources, right? You also, if it's a place you're going to do weekly or something, you got to have a room or a spot or a studio or something set up that you just dedicate to doing this. So you just flip on the on switch, everybody sits down, you hit record, that kind of thing. Takes resources. Not free, not expensive, but also not free. All right, second thing, if it is of low quality, meaning the content or the production or whatever it is, it actually hurts the brand. You can do damage to the brand. If it's crappy podcast and you make a great product, people might start to go, you know what I'm saying? Hurts the brand. So you got to march in step with how good your product is and how much you love your brand and how much of, you feel you want to represent your podcast and your brand together. Okay, and the third thing, and this goes without saying, it's liability. Meaning that things you say on the podcast can get out into the wild, can be taken the wrong way, can be taken the right way if you meant it. It's the kind of reason why, to be perfectly honest, 99.9 repeating of these big giant corporate companies don't do podcasts because of the liability. The employees get on there, they get kind of loose, they start laughing, they talk about stuff. They say things they probably shouldn't have said. Liability. Number one reason probably why they don't do it these days, because, I think a Hasbro or whoever, I'm pretty sure that they can afford it. All right. So what I did is I did the very least amount of deep diving. I did what's called shallow diving. In fact, it's not even really a dive. It's really just kind of slapping the water with your hand. I looked around to see if I could find any podcasts done by toy companies, starting at the big dogs, the Mattels and the Hasbros. And look what I found, people. It's the first one. Look at this. The Barbie Podcast. Now, this isn't really a podcast. I didn't listen to it. However, the last one was 2024 September. I think they're on a break. Maybe they're coming back. Maybe they're not. It's all the way these corporations work. Budget gets slashed, podcast gone. But it's not really a podcast. I think it's a couple of employees who are sort of cosplaying as Barbies, doing a kind of fun what-if Barbie radio kind of thing. And I think it's for kids. I think that this is sort of a show, a fictional show. I think this is garbage. I don't think Barbie collectors are tuning into this, which is too bad because there's a lot of Barbie collectors out there. There's probably some really good actual non-Mattel corporate Barbie podcasts out there that are probably worth checking out. All right, let's move on. Another big dog, Funko. Funko had a podcast called the Funcast, the Funko Funcast. They made it 139 episodes. The last one was March 2020, and then that's it. I haven't heard from them since. Now, I did not listen to this to rate them or look at it. I assume it's not video because if you look at the thumbnails, there's no pictures of video or guests or anything. So looks like the kind of thing that's audio only, probably people yucking it up about Funkos. That's probably crap. But they did try it. Someone in marketing probably said, Bob, we should really have one of those podcasts. And they did this. All right. So then I went looking and I looked at the next tier down, which is like a NECA and the Mezco and a Jazzwares and the McFarlane and those kinds of things. And I didn't really find anything. So then you got to start going down even lower. You got to get to the next rung under that. You got to get to like your Animal Warriors of the Kingdoms, your Valaverses, of which Valaverse is a co-host on one of my favorite podcasts, the 3POA. I would definitely say that is not the official Valaverse podcast. I would say that's not even the unofficial Valaverse podcast. It's just a really fun podcast that Ryan, aka Laserpants, does, who happens to have Bobby Vala on as a co-host. And again, it gets a recommend, but I would say that is definitely not an official podcast. He has his own YouTube channel. He makes his own YouTube videos. Sometimes they're about the brand. Usually they're just about himself, which I think is great, which in some ways he is the brand, furthers the brand. But they don't have an official podcast. In fact, the only couple companies I could find who have official podcasts was Four Horsemen Studios, of which you guys know I'm a fan. I review and talk about the Four Horsemen all the time. I love fantasy. I love fantasy figures. I love this company. I love their figures. They did a podcast called Legion's Cast. They made it up until, let's see here, episode 40 debuted in 2022 November. So they made it through about 41 episodes to 2022, called it. But they were trying it. They did something. Don't know why it didn't work. It was audio only. Then there is on their YouTube channel, They've got a couple of shows. They've got this one show called Not a Podcast, which, by the way, just because you call it Not a Podcast doesn't mean it's not a podcast. It is a podcast. It's with these two guys, Gasper and Chris Garrich. And there's just a couple of dudes in a room yucking it up. And, I've sat in the audience through a few episodes. I've talked to people about it. It's not really what anybody wants. It's not really what the Four Horsemen wants as far as the company goes, promoting their brand. It's not really what us as like customers want. It's not really firing on all the pistons. It's just kind of disconnecting. They're still doing it, but it's like, don't really know why. No one really watches it. No one really cares. No one really comments on it. Not saying it's garbage, but it's a miss. It's a miss. The other one that they do is this Mythic Conversations with Gerard, and it's really, I believe, I've yet to actually kind of sit down and absorb it full in. But I believe it's just him talking to guys who do customs with the Mythic Legions, which is a big part of their fan base. But it's not a very broad thing. It seems to be doing better than the other show, though. And I think it's going in the right direction. I think it's something worth having on the channel. But I think that within a niche, it's a niche kind of thing. However, keep it going. Keep it going. Why not? So the only other real podcast that I could find was from Savage Crucible. Now, Savage Crucible is, in my opinion, the Pepsi to Mythic Legion's Coke, despite the fact that it's a new company. They've done an amazing Kickstarter that generated not one, not two, but 3 different waves of figures. Of those 3 waves, 1 wave has come in already and is in people's hands. The second wave is just about to hit the shore and will be going out. The 3rd wave will come in after that. I think after all 3 waves are out in the wild, I think they're going to go on to their next, sort of rung of the ladder of moving up as a toy company. And they have their own podcast, simply called Savage Crucible, in which the owner has just kind of over sort of, StreamYard, Zoom chat, that kind of thing, has people on the show. Of course, they do the right thing in talking about their products, talking about their brand. And to me, I feel that it's working. I feel that they've got kind of a grasp on it in sort of like it's as casual as they are still a fresh company. They haven't gone all corporate or anything like that. But they still keep it focused and moving it along. I believe that when all 3 waves have finally come in and gone out and they're ready to start producing new waves of figures, right? I think that's when I would like to see this podcast maybe go up a scotch, maybe go up a notch in terms of its production, in terms of its quality, in terms of its focus, and just get a little more serious. Not that it's serious right now, just that I would like to see the quality of the podcast match the quality of the figures. And if you look at the amount of views they have, they're beating the Mythic Legions guys, okay? It's a better show. It's a better show, people. So that is the general discussion on podcasts and toy companies. There's a few people doing them. There's a few people who tried doing them. We're probably going to see a lot more companies in the future doing their own podcasts because I mentioned they're cheap. It's content. It's a great way to market your product. But I think a lot of people got to be afraid of liability. You got to be willing to donate the resources to it, right? And you also have to put some production into it to make it not too cheap, if you know what I mean. So, thanks to everybody who made it this far into the video. Like, subscribe. Also, all comments you share on this one with me, I'll reply back and we'll start a little conversation. Let me know what you think. So, with that, everybody, stay charged.